What's going on with Raider Nation? It's time to break down the draft, shall we? Let's take a look at what's going on. And, for the most part, Reggie has drafted for the future. Let's take a look, shall we?
I know it from the start. Baby, when you broke my heart, that I had to come again and show you that I'd win. You lied to me. All those times I said that I love you, you lied to me. Yes, I tried. Yes, I tried. You lied to me. Even though you knew I'd die for you, you lied to me. Yes, I cried. Yes, I cried.
So in the first round, the Raiders selected Khalil Mack, the outside linebacker. Arguably, some people had him as the best player in this entire draft, and he fell to 5. Obviously, Clowney, most people had Clowney as the number 1 guy. You could argue Mack could have been the number 2 player on the board. Dennis Allen and Reggie McKenzie in their presser, it's pretty clear they didn't think he was going to fall to 5. They might have traded out of the pick if Mack and Watkins were both gone, but Jacksonville took Blake Bortles, and that opened the door for Watkins or Mack to be available at 5, which made a really big deal. Obviously, Buffalo trades up for Watkins, figured he was going to be gone anyway, but Mack falls at 5, and the Raiders actually pounce on it. They could have traded down, they might have gone for Derek Carr, but thankfully, Khalil Mack's on the board. They go with him, and I like the pick. He's a pass rusher and run stopper. He can do everything you want for a linebacker except maybe coverage. But yeah, this is a pick I like, as we have needs pretty much everywhere, and I know some linebacker wasn't really our biggest need based on last year with Kevin Burnett, Nick Roach, and C.O. Moore, but you can always improve better. You always can when you're a team that's rebuilding and you need to take picks. Take the best talent available. Why not? So Mack, I'm pretty satisfied there. I didn't think he was going to fall. But it was a good pick, and I'm very, very excited about that one. In the second round, the Raiders selected Derek Carr. Some people had him as first-round talent. I didn't think any quarterback is worthy of the first round. I still stand by what I've said before. Thought maybe Bortles and Garoppolo were the best quarterbacks from my vantage point, but Derek Carr's got the arm. That's the one thing he does have, and that's something every quarterback in the NFL is going to need, is an arm. Now the problem is he good against quality defenses? I don't think he's good enough in that aspect, and that's my problem I see with him. I see when he plays a good team or a quality defense, what you're going to see in the NFL, he'll crumble. I do not want to see him playing much this year. Thankfully, we took him in the second round, so I'm not really angry over this pick, but I don't really like it. I thought there were better people to take on the board. But the Raiders had him high on the board, and that was what the media speculation was. They were correct. They wanted Derek Carr, and they ended up with them. So Carr, I still think Schaub should be the starter. I know that's the big question. Schaub should start this year as a stopgap. Maybe Carr gets inserted near the end of the year just to get playing time, but you got to develop Carr. I don't want to see Carr in week 1 starting as a rookie. I don't think it's worth throwing him under the fire. Quarterbacks, to me, take time to develop. There are some exceptions, don't get me wrong, but he's got to wow me and wow the coaches in preseason and training, all that, training camp. He has to really dominate Matt Schaub in order to say he should go in front. Because it's all about developing your quarterbacks. You can't just have a guy step in right away. There's some quarterbacks that can, but I don't think Carr is capable of doing that. So I don't like the pick a whole lot, but at least we know where this team is committed and where Reggie is committed. We got that answer out of the way. In the third round, the Raiders selected Gabe Jackson, Mississippi State, interior offensive lineman. I obviously like this pick because I have stressed the need for a defensive and offensive line. This is a big guy. big guy on the interior and should be handy for hopefully running and pass protection. Hopefully this is a guy that Tony Sperano can help develop. He's supposed to be a great offensive line coach. That's his specialty. Thankfully, he's not a head coach right now, so I trust the coaching staff to develop him. I like Gabe Jackson, and I like this pick a lot because this is not a reach either. It's pretty clear I like what I'm seeing there. In the 4th round, the Raiders selected Justin Ellis, a defensive tackle. Same thing I said before. Defensive line is addressed. I did not want them to wait till the 6th round like they did last year to take a defensive lineman. I figured the Raiders were going to go best player available, and this is pretty much a sign they were. They were going to just trust their board and stick with it. Thankfully, though, this fills a need, too, because I feel defensive line in the long term needs help. I know Justin Tuck's there right now, but the defensive line is a foundation you have on defense, and you got to build it from the front to the back. That's been my theory with football. A big interior lineman. I know they don't necessarily register the sacks and the tackles, but people don't realize how important those defensive tackles and defensive ends are on the line. So we took a big guy on the line, and I'm satisfied with that. Good luck to Ellis. I think he's a very good pick for where they got him. In the 4th round, once again, they traded down in the 3rd to pick up a 4th. The Raiders, I thought they were going to trade down again so they could get some 5th and 6ths. Obviously, the Matt Schaub and Matt Flynn trades are the reasons why we don't have a 5th and 6th. We were able to take Keith McGill, a cornerback from Utah. This is a big, long, physical corner. I know in the NFL and those who've been paying attention to the news, it's all about building a cornerback who is big, large, physical, trying to be like the Seattle Seahawks. That's the thing that Pete Carroll and his coaching staff have they're starting that blueprint of getting large cornerbacks who are physical. They say size don't matter sometimes, but in this case, teams are starting to look at that. They want the long arms, the big, and hopefully they coach them up and teach them to be physical. Dennis Allen is supposed to be a defensive backs coach. He's got to be able to develop this guy. People say he doesn't play to his size, but he's a tall, lanky corner. He'll also get the chance to learn under Terrell Brown and Carlos Rogers, who are veterans at the corner position, and even Charles Woodson, who used to be a corner. So this is a reasonable pick. We do need a cornerback in the long term because we have some Band-Aid players who are on 1-year deals. So this is actually also a good pick. Not a great one, but I am fine with it. In the 7th round, the Raiders had multiple 7th round picks. I believe this was, first of all, their own 7th round pick. The Raiders selected Travis Carrie. This was a cornerback who I think will be a special teams contributor, kind of like how Tywan Jones is. I expect him to try to be a gunner, maybe be a returner, or do some return duties, but he should be a special teams guy primarily. Hopefully they can develop him with some coverage skills down the line, but he should be a special teams person in the short term if he makes the team. That would be the goal for this guy, taking the 7th round. Once again, Reggie took the best player available. Didn't care about need or position. Took the best guy on the board. In the 7th round, the Raiders took a defensive end named Shelby Harris from the FCS level. Large physical defensive end. Not too many risks, well, besides his character issues, but it's the 7th round. It's a very low-risk thing. It doesn't hurt at all. Shelby Harris, large guy. Sometimes it's like he's not motivated, I've heard. This is where you hope the coaching staff and Jason Tarver, who I thought was one of our better staff guys. He looked very promising. Very angry guy, but Jason Tarver, I like what I saw from him, at least in the first half. Second half, they kind of fell off because they dogged it, but the defense had some promise without talent, but now that they got some players of their own, hopefully he can mold and develop this guy if he contributes. With the very last pick, this is the pick that the Raiders, with Terrell Pryor, this is the Terrell Pryor pick. The previous one, Shelby Harris, was the Carson Palmer pick, or one of 2 Carson Palmer picks. The Terrell Pryor pick ended up being Jonathan Dowling, a safety, another large defensive back. Once again, expect this is going to be a guy they would hope to sit behind Charles Woodson and any others, and Tyvon Branch. That'd be the safety of the future, hopefully. At least, definitely a special teams person, but hopefully the Raiders take every pick seriously, which they should. They took the best player on the board, and this is one of those developmental guys. Once again, hopefully if he makes the team, he could be a special teamer in 2014. So now, with the draft over, now the big question is, where do we go from here? What do the Raiders do? Who knows what's going to happen? Once again, I agree with Matt Schaub being the quarterback for now. You let Derek Carr develop and learn. Don't force the issue and play him in week 1 unless he dominates the preseason and dominates everything else. It's all about the long term, guys. Here, I know there might be some growing pains. This team should be competitive. I don't know about the whole thing and winning a lot, but this team should be a lot more competitive with what they got. They have veterans, and then they have youth. Reggie can finally build his foundation up, and he will spend on guys who right now can be short-term fixes, but he'll save that money for when a good player comes, and he can keep them for money. It was kind of annoying when the whole Jared Veldier, Lamar Houston, Roger Saffold thing happened, but ever since that, he recovered well, and he signed some veterans. We're not screwed. We're definitely at the cap floor now. Thankfully, he can sign some guys for the short term, and then he'll extend guys for the long term if they earn it. That's how the Packers were built, and obviously the Raiders are being built under that philosophy, which is how football should be done. You got to draft guys, you got to develop them, and you got to be able to put them out on the field. Hopefully these draft picks pan out. I'm still kind of skeptical of the last first-round pick and DJ Hayden. Hopefully I'm wrong there. I didn't like what I saw, but I know it's too early to judge. It's 1 year. We'll see what happens. Reggie stuck with his board, and he just played through it. He took the best guy on the board. And when you have a bunch of needs, you don't really have to worry too much about not filling the need when you have so many. So they took the most talented person on the board. And the good thing is, in the long term, I know we're fine. We're not financially screwed anymore. That's the biggest thing. In some ways, he's putting his job on the line, taking some long-term people. But when you have a guy like Khalil Mack who can build a pulse for this franchise, that's what I'm really hoping for at this rate. Yeah, I expect this team to be competitive. I think we can hang with a couple teams. This is still going to be the Broncos division, but I think the Chargers and Chiefs, they are beatable. I am not scared of them like some people would think I am. This team, unfortunately, they're playing the NFC West. That's the best division in football. It's going to be very tough on that front. But I think they could turn some of those losses that should have been wins last year into wins. There were some of those competitive games they just lost and found unfortunate ways to lose. But Dennis Allen's job is on the line this year. I don't know about Reggie, but Dennis Allen's got to show that he can coach and develop the guys he has right now. That's the biggest question of all. So, yeah, I've approved most of these signings, these short-term guys who are entering 29, 30 years old, 31, guys who can be short-term competitive fixes while also building for the long term. That's what they're doing with this draft. So, let me know what you guys think. If you dislike any picks, this is pretty much one of the few chances you're going to get to talk about the Raiders this offseason, because I might make a couple videos reevaluating previous drafts, but this is it until the fall. This is all the Raiders talk you're going to get. So that's about my take on the Raiders. I like what I saw this draft. Solid picks for the most part, but I'm not going to say we won the draft because none of these guys have played a snap yet in football, so there's no reason to judge that early. We'll see you guys later. Go Raiders.